Radio TV phono nut here, and we have a 9-inch RCA black and white television, which is vacuum tube based from the 1974 model year. I've had this television for years. In fact, probably the last time it was turned on before today was before the analog TV shutdown of 2009, because the channel dials are still set to the old analog local channels here, channels 11 and 30. Well, pulled it back out and plugged it in, turned it on, and now it has no vertical deflection. If my memory is correct, when I put it up 15 plus years ago, it would work, but the picture was very washed out on it. But anyway, this is a 1974 model year set, and I'm pretty sure this was the last television that RCA made that used a vacuum tube chassis. And I've seen this same television with a 1975 model year sticker on it. Now for 74, RCA offered a wide variety of both color and black and white sets with a vacuum tube based chassis, in addition to the higher priced upper scale solid state sets. But for 75, it seems that all of the vacuum tube sets were discontinued. I suspect the deal on this television was by mid-1974, when the 75 model year sets were coming out. They probably had a bunch of leftover parts for these sets, so they just built enough sets to use up what inventory they had and just slapped 75 model year stickers on them. But we'll turn it on and I'll show you what it's doing. Oddly enough, this set does not have instant on, which most tube sets by this time did, but it's probably a good thing this doesn't have instant on. As you can see, no vertical deflection at all. Turn that brightness down. We don't want to burn a line into the screen. Now I can hear that high-paced ticking sound. That's the vertical. And when I turn the vertical hold control, you see that's running very slow. And that's with the vertical hold all the way to the end of its range. But it has no effect on the sweep. I suspect this tuner is probably dirty as well. There's our model tag, model AS090B, 1974 model year, and there's the serial number. And of course on the back we have our controls for contrast, vertical hold, and horizontal hold, with our vertical size and vertical linearity accessed from inside the TV or by using a small screwdriver. That's not something the user would generally need to adjust. And here's the inside of the set. As you can tell, pretty cramped in here, and everything's on a printed circuit board chassis. Alright, here's the tube chart. It appears this TV is slightly hybrid. In the tuner we have a 3HA5 RF amp, but no mixer tube shown, so I take it that the oscillator / mixer stage is transistorized. And then for our first IF, we have a 4JH6, but for the second picture IF, we have a transistor. And then a 17BF11 for our audio output and sound, 6GH8, sync and sound IF, 8JV8 video output and AGC, 17JZ8 vertical oscillator and output, 8FQ7 horizontal oscillator, and a 33GY7 horizontal output tube and damper. And those are pretty standard types for these types of little televisions. And this is a KCS 189 series chassis, I do believe. But yeah, it wouldn't be an RCA if it didn't have at least one 6GH8 in it. And with this set having one 6GH8 in it, that probably means that two of them are bad. Alright, here we are with the back cover removed and the suicide cord connected. That vertical frequency that you hear is not coming from the yoke. It's coming from the vertical output transformer down here. And whenever I rotate the vertical hold control, as you can tell, the frequency changes. Alright, it's probably okay, but I'm going to test the 17JZ8 just to be sure, because I think if it was bad, probably wouldn't even be hearing anything from the vertical output transformer. But like I said, I'm going to pull it and check it just to cover our bases, and as you can tell, it's kind of cramped in here. Alright, section number 1. No shorts, quality, good. Grid emission, which I don't really think is accurate on this tester. Alright, for the second section, 29 and 7. Quality. Yeah, I think this tube is okay. Alright, I don't have the SAMs on the KCS 189 chassis, but I have the SAMs on a KCS 188, which is a 12-inch set from about the same time period, and this one here uses an all-tube chassis, but I suspect the vertical sweep circuit is probably pretty much the same for both of them, or at least close enough to get us where we need to be for right now. Here's our 17JZ8 vertical multi-vibrator and output tube. And it drives our vertical output transformer, which has B+ feeding into the transformer, and then the other end of that winding goes to the plate. And then we have a feedback cap here now. And that feedback cap is probably one of those little green things that I've seen fail in these before. But anyway, as we just demonstrated, I can hear the vertical running through this transformer, and I can hear the frequency change as I rotate the vertical hold control. Now that tells me that our oscillator has to be working to some degree, and this tube must be working if it's able to drive this transformer. And then the secondary side of the transformer goes directly over here to the deflection yoke. And it says our vertical winding is supposed to read 26 ohms. And the same goes for the horizontal winding. And then the other end of our vertical yoke winding goes to ground, as does this transformer. So by this acting the way it is, that would seem to indicate that we either have an open yoke winding, which would be most likely, or we have an open secondary winding on the vertical output transformer. And in order to determine that, we're going to have to disconnect the yoke and then ohm it out. Also coming off the secondary of the vertical output transformer, we go down here. This goes back to our vertical height control. Back down here to our flyback transformer. Yeah, this looks like some kind of blanking circuit there, but I think the next step we need to take is we need to disconnect the yoke and ohm out the windings, and then ohm out the secondary winding of this vertical output transformer. Alright, I've disconnected one of the leads from the yoke coming off the vertical output transformer, at least I think I have, and then I have our other meter lead clipped on the other lead, so let's see if this vertical output transformer is good, or at least has continuity. Alright, it does have continuity, 10.7 ohms. Alright, now let's check and see if our vertical yoke winding has continuity. And it does not. Our yoke is wide open, so as of right now, this TV is dead in the water until we can find a deflection yoke. And part 2 of this video will be dependent on whether a yoke can be located. If a yoke can't be located, then obviously there won't be a part 2, and this will be just a cute shelf queen, and I don't like cute shelf queens that don't work. So looking at this, it looks like somebody might have made a repair on this at some other point. You can see where the wire is twisted together there. And often what kills these yokes is the glue that's used to hold everything together. It will eat away at the windings, which of course causes the winding to corrode in two. Or should I say, not only can it eat away at the windings and the stuff can become conductive, and it might not eat through the windings, but it can eat through the insulating layer and cause a short to take place. Alright, I've examined this yoke pretty closely, and it doesn't look like anything that I can fix, so only hope for this is to find a good deflection yoke somewhere. And the thing is, even an unused yoke in the original factory box could still be bad if the glue used did what the glue on this one did, or what I suspect the glue on this one did. But we'll just have to see. And this illustrates another point. If a newbie had got a hold of this set, somebody that didn't know diddly squat about electronics, and they read all the malarkey on the internet about capacitors fix everything, they'd turn this on, see a line across the screen and think, oh, that set needs to be recapped. And then they would have gone through here and replaced every capacitor on this circuit board, because they wouldn't have had any idea about what each individual capacitor does in a particular circuit, so they just replace them all, and then they'd put the set back together and turn it on, and guess what would happen? They'd still see the same horizontal line across the center of the screen, because the yoke is bad, and no amount of capacitors in the world is going to fix that. So that's why you don't always need to go by what you see on the internet, and you need to have a basic understanding about the circuitry and whatever it is you're working on, and at least have some basic troubleshooting skills. Alright, the set's back together, and for the time being it's just going to be a shelf queen, and this is part 1 of this video. I know there's going to be more wrong with it than the yoke, but I feel like the yoke is the only major thing wrong with it. The flyback appears to be okay. I feel like the vertical output transformer is okay. So this was just a diagnostic video. If we find a deflection yoke, then there will be a part 2. If we don't find a deflection yoke, then it'll all end right here. Alright, I've got this yoke completely out of the set for closer examination, And this that they have tied together here, that's where the two yoke coils connect together. And one runs over here to this coil, and then the other end of this coil connects to this terminal, and then this goes over here to this coil here, and then this terminal here connects to this coil. So let's connect our meter here and try to determine which one of these coils is open. Alright, I'm connected between here and here, and we have an open circuit. And I'm connected between here and this side, and we have an open circuit. So what's up here? Alright, seeing as how both coils are open, you notice this high concentration of glue here. I have an idea that's where the problem is, on both sides. And I really don't know of any way to get that apart and fix it. And trying to get this yoke apart is proving to be difficult, which this was not meant to be taken apart in the first place. And if I got it apart, I'm not sure I'd ever get it back together again and it worked properly. So I think we're back to needing to just find a good yoke for this. And I think on both coils, it's ate through where this heavy concentration of glue is. And it's most likely has eaten through in several places, so I just don't really see any feasible way that we can fix this. So back to the original game plan, just trying to find a yoke for this thing and be done with it. So yeah, it's getting a little late, but tomorrow I might actually just do a post-mortem on this yoke. It's not of any use to us in its current state anyway. I don't see that I'm going to be able to fix this, so I'll probably just break it open rather violently, and I bet you we're going to find multiple breaks when I start to unwind this. Alright, I pried this yoke apart. It was just basically glue holding it together. And we're going to unwind this and try to see where the break is. I've already unwound a little bit. Haven't found a break yet. And that's where it broke, right in here. If I can find where the end is, I'll keep unwinding, and I bet I'll find more breaks. See all this glue right here? That's exactly what happened. It just became corrosive, ate through the wire, and that was that. And I found another break right here. So yeah, just as I suspected, this is going to be broken in many places here. So it's just really not feasible to try to repair this. And like I've said before, there's a good chance, even if I found a new old stock one, it's going to have the same problem. In fact, somebody on one of the TV groups on Facebook was telling me that they had a set like this years ago, with an open yoke, no vertical deflection. They ordered a new yoke from RCA, still no vertical deflection, and that one was open. And that was a brand new yoke. Yeah, I see several areas on here through the camera that looks like where the glue has possibly compromised these windings here. So, yeah, we just need to try to find another yoke. Here's coil number 2. You can see a heavy concentration of glue there too. And just like with the other one, it broke right around here, and when I scrape the glue off with my fingernail, we see a little bit of exposed copper there. So, yep, this one's finished. Here, this may be where we just broke, or it may be a fresh break, but I'm going to keep unwinding and see what else breaks, or see what else is already broken. Here's another break. We had to unwind a good bit to find it, but we found it. So far, 2 breaks on this coil. I have not unwound the rest of it, but reading continuity now, I'm reading 15 ohms, so right now there are no breaks, but who knows what could happen when I start unwinding. let's see. Well, frankly, I'm tired of unwinding, but I think we've already proven what took place here. Now, as far as bad deflection yokes, that's something that I don't recall running into very much in TV repair. Yes, it has happened. The strangest case of a bad yoke that I recall was back in the mid-90s when someone we knew brought me a 19-inch Magnavox set that was just old enough to be out of warranty. It was totally dead. I found the horizontal output transistor to be shorted and the fuse was blown. I replaced those parts, turned the television on, and it was very obvious that the yoke was shorted. The horizontal winding on the deflection yoke was shorted. So I just dug around in my junk and found a yoke that was good, put on there, and everybody was happy. And as far as this set, I'll try to find an original RCA type yoke. If I can't find one, then we just may have to modify it to use some other type of yoke if we can. But for right now, this is about all I've got on this set. Like I've said earlier, if I find a suitable deflection yoke, you'll see a part 2. If I don't find a suitable yoke, then this will be the end of it. Now, obviously, I don't have the equipment to rewind this deflection yoke, and I doubt there's anybody out there who has the equipment who would have been willing to do it. If we found somebody who was willing to do it, the time to have sent it to them would have been before I did a post-mortem on it. But even if we found somebody with the right equipment, the cost to have that done would more than likely way exceed the value of the television. You know, I don't fault people who would be willing to do that for charging for their services, but we also have to look at the financial standpoint on my end as well. So, like I've said 2 or 3 times already, I hope there's a part 2 on this television. But if there's not a part 2, then you'll know why. It'll be because I didn't find a suitable yoke for this. So there won't be any need in commenting on one of my videos 6 months or a year or 2 down the road. Hey, where's part 2 to the RCA television? Well, if there's not a part 2, then it's because we didn't find a yoke for this. So there you go. Hope you got something out of this, and more to come later.